Welcome back, folks. We have an in-studio guest today, no stranger to these airwaves. He's Damon K. Jones of Blacks in Law Enforcement, and we've been reporting on the Kenneth Chamberlain Sr. case along with DJ Henry and Officer Ridley and others. And there's a march this Saturday, and we're going to talk about that. And just let's start by giving an update on where the case is at.
Well, the case right now is in the hands of the Department of Justice. According to the Kenneth Chamberlain Jr.'s legal counsel, Mayo Bartlett, and Randolph Scott McLaughlin, immediately the next day, a letter was sent from the Department of Justice that they are looking at the case and they will be investigating the case. So that's where legally the family is at with investigating the shooting of Kenneth Chamberlain Sr. But there's a lot of work to be done on the grassroots level, getting people information on what they should know about their local law enforcement and use of force policies and procedures in general of the 43 municipalities in Westchester County.
Now, I remember I don't know if it was the first community meeting. I spoke at that one. I don't know if that was the first one or just the first one that I was at, but I know it was very early into this. And I also remember, when the tragedy first happened and how the media was reporting it. What about that? I mean, we don't really have a lot of sympathy in the Westchester media for these kind of cases. They always tell the police version as if it's the truth, and they take it and run with it. How does that hamper efforts to get justice?
Well, it hampers it a lot because you have to use your own means to try to get the truth across. The Guardian, the Westchester Guardian, has played a big role in getting a lot of victims' stories across. They allowed me personally to write stories on a monthly, bi-monthly basis to get the stories across. What was the break for Kenny was the Daily News Juan Gonzalez breaking the story and doing wonderful follow-ups on the story in a non-biased fashion and looking at the information and reporting on it.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head, though, about our own outlets. This is why. Now, I have a lot of problems with Facebook, and I'll say that. One thing I can tell you about Facebook is it just proved how neurotic Americans are. But that aside, it's an invaluable tool, and we've done a lot. My organization, Committee for Justice, we've done a lot, and it sounds like I'm hearing news or something in my headphones. And we've done it through social media.
Right.
Again, I mean, my frustration with the local press, I've been doing this for a long time. I know you have. And the amount of reporters that I've dealt with, people of color, I can count on one hand over the years. And what people might say, well, what's wrong with that? Well, I'll tell you what's wrong with that. If you don't have, first of all, a lot of these reporters are skeptical that cops would do this because they don't have a concept of it. They don't have a concept of it happening in their communities. So right away, they're like, well, yeah, he must have did something. Right. How many times have we heard that? I mean, I've gone to meetings, at churches and bringing victims of police brutality to try to get community support. And, then I go to some of the liberals and they'll be like, yeah, well, I agree the cop shouldn't have beat him. But what did he do? And right. I'm like, you're not hearing me.
Right.
You know what he did? He was born black. And they have no concept of that. Right. So right away, we have to prove that we're not criminals.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have to get their support. And so I think that YouTube is excellent. We use it all. This program is on YouTube. And it changes the game. Social media changes the game. And I think the Chamberlain case is an example of that also. But we do, but at the same time, we still need to deal with the media that's here.
Right.
Now all right, so that first meeting, it was a big rally and everybody spoke and the community was there. And then from there, we basically just waited for Everybody just waited to see what
That's right.
the DA was going to do.
Right.
What do you think about that?
Well, I wasn't surprised. I mean, I think it was a lot of pressure put on her. It wasn't just national pressure; it was international pressure. The Kenneth Chamberlain story was, people was putting up on his page articles from the United Kingdom about his father, which was a beautiful thing. And there was a small glimpse of hope that the pressure will force her to do somewhat equal and fair justice. But as usual, she proved us wrong, and you could tell. I mean, I've never seen Janet DeFiore so disruffled. Her hair, just her face. You could tell that, her inner spirit wasn't even right when she had that press conference. And that shows, that she knew it was wrong. And then for her to say, well, that she didn't agree with the N-word and it was used as a tactic to lure Mr. Chamberlain to the door. Come on, you got to be kidding me. Who is she fooling? Who is Commissioner Chong fooling? For them to sit and even say that, it should have been a hate crime. It should have been classified under the Hate Crime Act of 2000, I believe, and they should be charged with hate crime. They were recorded making racial slurs to this gentleman and then killing him. They forced themselves into the door when they had a key to the door. The only thing that was keeping them from getting in was the slap lock. They opened the door. They saw him. They saw he was alone. They saw he was okay. So why did you have to pull the door off the hinges and go into the house? And then the press tried to say, well, he was intoxicated. Well, when is it against the law to be intoxicated in your home? When
Right.
show me that.
Right. We were talking to Damon K. Jones of Blacks in Law Enforcement about the Kenneth Chamberlain Sr. case. We're going to be going to a short break. When we come back, if you want to be a part of this conversation, call 636-0110. You're listening to the Darrel Davis program on WVOX. If you're just joining us, you're listening to the Darrel Davis program. My in-studio guest, Damon K. Jones of Blacks in Law Enforcement. And we have a caller. Hello, you're on the Darrel Davis program. Hey, how are you?
Yes, this is, of course, a grotesque example of American law enforcement. And I've been sort of complaining about this kind of thing for many years. This is a culture which is kind of a corrupted, racist, fascistoid culture, and somebody has to get a grip on it. The police themselves overwhelmingly vote Republican, even though most of the working class people vote for the Democratic Party. That's problem number one. Well, this goes right up through lieutenants and captains, and there is a very strong racist element there, and Italian Americans can be enthusiastically included in this problem. So that's part of it.
Hold on a minute. Wait.
From the top.
All right. I have to ask you a question because I just want to be clear. What do you mean Italian Americans can be included?
Well, they have a sort of a vague reputation among Caucasians and maybe among African Americans as being more prejudiced than average. They're prone to some of the more vitriolic examples of this. Palladino using the N-word and trying to run for governor.
Let me just interject this. I don't believe that to be true. Maybe they don't hide it, some of them, as well as other groups. Right here in America, we know that there's a difference between the North and the South. We're in the North, whites will pat us on the back and set us up to be fired, but in the South, they'll call us the N-word right to our face. So I don't know that any ethnic group is really more racist than the other. Racism is deep among all ethnic groups.
But I've heard things from African Americans. I think it frankly comes from the parochial school culture. I've been told told that since I'm not prejudiced against African Americans, then I must be prejudiced against myself, because it's somehow normal and salutary to be prejudiced in favor of your own race. And if you're not, if you don't look at things that way, I heard an Italian American man say that he's proud of being white, and that's normal. And African Americans, we couldn't hear the snickers in the background, but they were there, should also be proud of being black. And I've heard this kind of open verbal stuff, but I think this is a cover for more severe behavior and lack of impulse control in the working class sense, let's say, than if you don't voice it.
Right.
So I think there's a difference there.
So how do we start moving towards a real long-term structural change?
Okay, that's obviously the tough question. First of all, we need affirmative action. We need more African-American police, because to try to reform the culture of Archie Bunker is probably impossible. That's the best way to do it. That or getting some kind of democratic control, maybe an African-American mayor, and then an African-American captain of the police force, and then have the example and the morality, as it were, filter down. That's the kind of thing that has to happen. Because if you wait for, them to become, to love African Americans, these Republican racists, you're going to wait a long time.
Well, and Mr. Cam, I thank you for your candid remarks. First of all, it as a black law enforcement professional, I think everybody should be proud of their ethnic heritage. They should stand on that, because it brings something special to law enforcement when you're policing communities of different ethnic communities. The first thing, I do agree that we need more African Americans in the various police departments in Westchester County. There's approximately 3,500 police officers in Westchester County, and only approximately about 250 black police officers. Within the 43 municipalities, there's only approximately about 3 black lieutenants, and you have 1 black commissioner, which is in Mount Vernon. You have 1 black female deputy commissioner, but she's in the Department of Correction. In my 23 years of law enforcement, just because we have black people in policy-making positions doesn't mean that the policies will change. Because 9 times out of 10, these African Americans are institutionalized in the institution of policing, which is adversely against African Americans since the black codes and the slave codes of slavery and the so-called freedom of the slaves. Now, what we also must look at is that it should be some type of ethnic classes within the academies to reinforce racial pride, not only among the African Americans, but among the Italians and the Irish and all that. The problem is that when it comes to African Americans having African American organizations in law enforcement, it is frowned upon. And for some odd reason, the African Americans that are in law enforcement, the black officers, are never proud to be a part of black organizations. And this is a travesty in law enforcement. It negates all the struggles and it negates everything that we tried to do since African Americans were in law enforcement in Westchester County. The issue is not the white cops. The issue is the black cops standing up for what is right.
By African Americans.
Yes, and I'll say it again. Yes, just because we have I live in Mount Vernon, and my wife is a detective in Mount Vernon, and I know Commissioner Bell, and he's a great commissioner. But let me tell you, he cannot do it all by himself. If you have a black commissioner, but everything underneath him is white, he has a battle on his hands, and he can't do it himself. Just because we have a black mayor, and we had a black mayor before him, they put these so-called supervisors, chiefs, lieutenant, and I told Mayor Davis, you created this problem that Bell is trying to fix, because they did just not get promoted underneath Young, they got promoted underneath you. We cannot forget that he did 3 terms. And I love Mayor Davis, but the truth is the truth.
All right.
And a lack of courage, then obviously you have to address that. Other African Americans have to address that, because there's no way to make people behave in the right way if they get intimidated by some other white pressure or their perception of this or that. That's a psychological problem. So that has to be addressed.
All right, listen, thanks for calling. You always add something to the conversation. It's time for a break. You're listening to the Darrel Davis program on WVOX Worldwide. K. Jones. We're talking about justice, or so far lack of it, for Kenneth Chamberlain Sr. And we're going to go right to the phones. Hello, you're on the Darrel Davis program. Hey, how are
Hey,
you?
brother, what's happening?
How y'all brothers doing?
Good, good.
Yeah, I see the killing of Kenneth Chamberlain and other black men and women around the country. I see it basically as extrajudicial killings, as far as I'm concerned. And I feel that these killings are justified by the courts to take black life.
Yeah, listen, are you listening to this program on the radio while you're talking?
Oh, yeah, let me turn it down. Hold on one second.
Thank you.
In a different room.
All right. Yeah, so and I'm going to ask you after the call is done, the role of elected officials in this whole thing, and the clergy, of course.
Right.
You know, and then you know, the activities that happen while we're seeking justice, waiting for Justice Department.
Yeah, brother.
Okay, yeah, go ahead. You were making a point?
Yeah, I was saying that's how I see these killings are taking place, and that Damon said, I would say since 1971, after the Attica uprisings there and the riot, we have stalled a fight to have black men and women included, whether it's the corrections, whether there's a police force. On the police force, that was a major thing that was advocated for. But as Damon said, we don't have educated black men and women who have pride in who they are. It doesn't matter what type of faces we have in those positions.
Right.
I mean, because when you look at it all around the country, if you look at since I would say the early 90s, since the crime bill was initiated, we can say we have black mayors all across the country.
Right.
In major cities.
Right.
But they all signed off on all these different legislations to basically imprison their own people.
It's a good point. It's a good point, and it's very true. And you know, a lot of people, you know, like the earlier caller was saying that you know, we need affirmative action, but you know, affirmative action has been used against our community.
That's right.
You know, instead of bringing in qualified people of color, we found that people who are hostile to our interests would bring in any old black will do. We're seeing that at the Peekskill Housing Authority today.
You look at the vote digits, so like you said, the vote digits brought in another black person, and what does she do? She votes to keep the creeps on the board.
No loyalty to the people or the community.
She votes to keep the creeps, but I mean, this is our, you know, the reality of. Unfortunately, I was watching something on Channel 12 recently. Now, I never could call it the Phi Beta Zeta, whatever they call it. You know, but I'm watching these Negroes. You know, they have the county executive there, Astorino there at their dinner. They're so proud to have this man. I mean, it doesn't matter how much racism that this man has since he's been in office that he does against black people. It's just that moment we got up in the room. So you have all these black elected officials there at this dinner, all these people with different places of influence, but they don't use it for their people.
Yeah, hold on that point. What about that?
Well,
What about we have some high-ranking black elected officials all over the county. These killings are happening. What are they doing?
they're doing nothing. They're doing absolutely nothing. We brought in black law enforcement professionals from all over New York State, and we called for counties like Astorino and Legislative King Jenkins to form some type of oversight committee to look into these police criminality cases, because these are police crimes. They're not police misconduct. They're crimes against law-abiding citizens, not just black people, but poor white people and Hispanic people and immigrants and different people. But we've called on them to do something, and it's unfortunately, and I must say this to my brother King Jenkins, he made a mistake in the public, so I have to correct him in the public. He falsely said that the Human Rights Commission handled cases of police brutality and police misconduct, which is a bold-faced lie. What we are doing, we are sending a letter to the Human Rights Commission, and we are foiling all police brutality and police misconduct cases, and we're asking what police departments that they were for the last 28 months. And unfortunately, he said it at the wrong time, because you have lawsuits coming in, and he'll probably be subpoenaed on his statement in News 12. See, and this is a black elected official.
Well, we're not surprised about him. He came to peace kill about 2 years ago when we were protesting the mayor and the policies of the city. He came in, him and a whole bunch of Democrats from New York City and all over to quell us all out.
But we can't be quiet. We can't be quiet no more. And one of the issues that we have to understand is we have to start pooling our resources, dude. We have to pool our resources and run our elected officials. And I'm going to use this example. President Barack Obama said something that was out of ordinary with the Trayvon Martin case. Nobody would ever thought that he would say what he said to the parents of Trayvon Martin, right? What happened the next day from the black people? They said nothing. He comes out and says he's in favor of gay marriage. The next day he raised $15 million from Hollywood, and we know what's going on in Hollywood. So we have to start pulling our money. And who's gonna make the call who's gonna play the piper? It's gonna be gay Hollywood. And I'm not bashing gay people. I'm calling this is what politics is. We have to start pulling our money, forming these PACs, and telling these politicians, if you are not going to address our issues, white, black, whatever, but especially the black politicians, we're going to run candidates against you, and we're going to vote your behind out of office. We're going to put you out of office. We start with the small ones and we work our way up to big ones. Let me tell you, and once you start, just like the Tea Party is to the Republican Party, we need to be to the Democratic Party. If you're not going to address our issues, we're going to put you out.
Alrighty.
I think we have to have some, the process of that, we have to make sure that we have some major campaign finance laws in place.
Absolutely, because that's where they're bombing us out at, They have the big money, and big government really has taken over government.
But brother, we have the big money. We are the largest consumers in this nation.
But we don't have it. We're spending it.
It doesn't take a lot. It doesn't take a lot.
I think you have to, right now, we have to be honest. Black America economically is in bad shape now. We would have to concentrate on some people who do have some money, because I agree, we do have some people who do have some money.
You would never know black America is hurting.
What their priorities are is a whole other story.
Right.
You have the 50 Cents and Jay-Z's, and then you got people in business.
Well, I'm not. Well,
so we have money, but the masses of us right now are doing bad.
No, even on the local level, brother, you don't need if the same way the teachings of Elijah Muhammad. He said, if you could give me $1 a week, and if you could get 100,000 people, if you get 50,000 people, well, all right, let's go 10,000 people, $1 a week. You know how much money just for Westchester that we could move politically? just on
But
campaigns.
hold on though. But yeah, hello. But that's the point. I mean, we have the money, but we don't have the money. I mean, it's out there, but we don't have the group unity, the cultural base anymore to understand that the group unity that we need, like other groups do. Pull their resources, set up. They ain't out there marching and begging for a job. They're opening their own businesses.
That's right. That's
you know.
right.
But listen, we gotta wind this down. We probably got like a minute left, and we need to get to. There's something happening Saturday.
Yes, Saturday at the Slater Center at 12 noon to 3 p.m. There'll be a rally for oversight in law enforcement.
Now, is there a march also?
The march is tentative because of permit issues, but we will be at the Slater Center at 12 o'clock, 12 noon to 3 p.m. and is sponsored by the Network for Police Accountability, which is different groups throughout Westchester County, and we're going to be demanding oversight, policies, and procedures. We're going to be demanding accountability of our law enforcement to the taxpayers of Westchester County, and we're going to be putting pressure on our county exec and our county legislative chairman to do something. Don't lie to us, tell the truth, and let's have some type of accountability.
All right, listen, come out, folks. This Saturday, 12 o'clock, Slater
Center, White Plains, New York, on Fisher Avenue.
Okay, and again, I want to remind folks you can see clips of this program on YouTube. We have a channel, Ms. Equal Rights, one word. Just go there, and there's video record of this program, council meetings, movements, marches. It's all there. You can see just what we've been talking about, but not just talking about, but also walking about. That's it. We're out of time. Thank you, Damon K. Jones.
Thank you, brother.
You've been listening to the Darrel Davis program on WVOX Worldwide.